So today I'm gonna discuss I think it's a recent event that I think we can all learn from, and it just so happens to me. It really happens to everybody, but this one was kind of more important because of the fish it happened to, and obviously you guys know this tank is home to Amazon puffer. According to rankings, the second rarest puffer on the planet, and when you have the advantage to keep something like that, you definitely take more concern and be more aware of a fish like that when you get to keep it, in your own home, and it's literally extinct out in the wild. Um, so I guess what was it through Monday, which was like 3 days ago. He was actually a day before that, like during the weekend, he was acting a little weird. Um, More like kind of skittish, kind of swimming all kind of different directions, kind of swimming in a way that I've never seen before. Um, and I've seen it in other fish, so I kind of recognized what he was doing, but I was just hoping that it wasn't like any disease, um, a disease like curling disease, and I'll actually make a video probably this week about that, just discussing curling disease because it is a common disease that people don't actually know is a disease, and um, the good thing is it wasn't the curling disease that was affecting my puffer, so that was a good thing because it's uncurable, and he probably would eventually die from that. But what happened was, so when I saw him do that, I immediately checked the water parameters. I have my API test liquid test kit, so I whipped out the ammonia first, because that was more important. And yeah, the ammonia was at 1. And if you get off the chart, so people can get a visual, as you can see, 1's right here. Now, um, I usually keep pretty good check of this tank, and it was fine before, and just out of nowhere, ammonia spike just jumped up. I don't know what it was from. I mean, I'm still kind of finding that out now, so when I know, I'll tell you guys. But it was at 1 on Monday night, and so right when that happened, I did a 50% water change. So we were, right down in the middle, right between the middle of the rocks. I drained the tank 50%. Actually, the biggest I've ever done on this tank, and that lowered. The next, I actually checked it at like, I stayed up all night that night. I actually stayed up for 2 nights straight, making sure he was okay. But that later that night at 1 o'clock in the morning, I checked again. It was at 50, so it was better. I would say it was actually in between these. So it was a little lighter, but it definitely went down by half, which is good. And then Tuesday I did another water change. I probably say I did about 40%. I didn't do a full 50 because I only did one bucket. And this time it was actually, I actually checked like way later in the day yesterday, and it was still a little green, but after I let it sit for like the 5 minutes you're supposed to, it actually was yellow. So it was still a little, it's hard to tell. Obviously, if you guys know these test kits, it's kind of difficult to tell sometimes, but you could tell the ammonia was basically gone. And I'm still checking now. It is still gone now because I checked not too long ago. I just rinsed out the test kit, so I could have showed you guys, but um, it was at yellow, so it's been gone, pretty much gone for 2 days now, maybe a day and a half. And the first thing I did was I kind of dosed a little more of Prime, which helps with the nitrates, I forget what. Yeah, detoxifies it, so it just kind of helps with everything else. It's not so much the ammonia part of it, but obviously if you have high ammonia, you're most likely going to have a little bit high on these sides too. So I dosed a little more Prime just to be safe. And then what I did was, when I bought this, I thought I just waste my money. I randomly just, when you buy it, you see chemicals and you just randomly buy them. That's what happened here months ago, and I never used it. But um, it reduces ammonia, so it reduces it. I don't know if it takes. Yeah, it actually does remove ammonia, which is surprising because a lot of chemicals just like detoxify it, which means they just make it less harmful. This actually does like help remove it a little bit, so that helped. And so this basically just, I guess in conclusion, this basically made it less harmful for the fish. I've been dosing that for 3 days straight now. With the water changes, kind of mixed it in. And then just to be safe, I did put some deworming meds in there. This stuff's very powerful, so it doesn't need much, especially for this tank. Just in case he had some weird internal parasite that could cause, the weird swimming, and he's still acting a little weird now, but he is fine and he's eating. So I'm still kind of watching him, but I am dosing this weekly just to make sure he doesn't have anything. Because if you know with puffers, they do, from being wild caught, they do get kind of worms and they get different parasites that can, get inside of them and affect them in all different sorts of ways and diseases. So definitely pick up. Um, this stuff's really good. Prezi Pro Aquarium Cup sells. That's where I got mine. Pretty cheap, $5 for a little bottle, which is basically all you need for a tank like this. But so after that 3 days, like I said, the ammonia was gone, and the fish. It's like the fish just magically was it like magically started swimming normal again. Well, not really swimming. It just started acting less weird, and it seemed pretty normal. And I was happy about that. It looked like it took a lot of pressure off of him with all that ammonia buildup. So you can see how clear the tank is. Like those water changes, so much water changes in the last 3 days. It really makes this tank really clear. But I guess the good side about that. So I guess I haven't really showed the puffer. Um, the one thing I've been noticing lately, he's been kind of weird. He's been kind of rubbing up against stuff. I don't want to assume, but I just think he might be having something like clamping fins or something like that, or he's trying to rub up on stuff. I'm still watching him. I'm just trying to see what he's doing exactly. Can't see. He's back there, and it looked like from different angles, it looks like he has a bent kind of body, and we all know when fish has bent spines, it can be all kinds of stuff. But sometimes you see tetras, they have this like curved body, like broken spine almost looks like. And that's what that was happening to him, and it's from certain angles that's what it looks like. And then I actually took him out by hand and actually looked at his body, and as he's swimming now, look, he looks perfectly straight with his body and structure. So I don't think that's what it was. It just looked kind of weird. His tail does do something weird. It bends kind of weird, and he's not swimming normal, that's for sure. So I'm hoping it's just still the ammonia that got to him, because he is. Amazon puffers are very sensitive fish, just like any rare fish that or really a hard fish to keep. They all are usually very very sensitive to parameters, and that's definitely happened to him. It happened to him instantly, and I'm just hoping that that's basically still the side effects, and he's just slowly healing up. It looks like he's been getting better and better, but you know, time will tell. But anything can still. I mean, he could have easily died from it if I didn't do anything that night. He was already. He looked like he was about dead already that night, and so he's healed up quite nice. So anything can still happen. I don't want anything to happen, but it is scary when you have a rare fish like this, and you don't want anything happening to it. Especially, I know some people get them really cheap. I paid a lot of money for this fish, and um, too much for it to just die randomly. But the tank. So yeah, just to learn. Now I'm really keeping track. I went out and got kind of a calendar notebook, and if we put this down, this is good for any tank, especially if you have like a fish room or something. I'm writing down every time I do something, so anything I dose, um, all the water changes. Obviously I dosed those two today, and then I dosed Amagard. And then today I actually took out the puffer and measured him, and he's 1 1/8, so just barely over an inch. And it's just kind of to keep track of him and the tank, and just to go back and see what we did to the tank. But yeah, that's basically all I gotta share with you. I just want to, all I want to get out of this video is be aware, because I thought everything was fine, and look what happened. About killed a couple $100 fish. So um, just something we can all kind of think about and be more aware. Especially when you have nice tanks like this, we don't want it to get ruined just because we didn't pay attention from one time. But um, I am getting. I think it might be here next week, or I might get them next week. I don't know, but I'm gonna order some about 20 autocinkless and put about 12, a dozen in here. There's already one in here, so he'll get some new friends. But get a big school of them, because as you can see, there's brown buildup. It's not brown algae; it's actually from the ADA, and actually it is a little bit of brown algae. It's kind of a mix of dust and brown algae. But the autocycles will really clean that up good. Just all these leaves are kind of turning kind of brown just because of the dust in the air, and it kind of sucks. Because when I do a water change, sometimes everything just floats all over the place and gets all the leaves. You can see the S-ribbons. Certain leaves are just dark. So the autocycles will clean all of this off, especially with the dozen in here. That's quite a bit for a little tank like this. So they should be able to clean this just nicely. And then the other 10 will go in the other tank. Just for whatever. We can always move them and all of them in here if we ever wanted to. Because that tank doesn't really need it. But, yeah, let's just hope that Bobby over here turns out okay, and just, let him rest up. Probably need to. I think one of my assumption is that the substrate, a lot of leftover stuff and poop is building up on the surface. So I think I need to kind of just lightly kind of gravel back a tiny bit just to get all the surface scum off of there. So I think I need to try that and just see, because that might have caused a problem. But other than that, so I don't talk forever, you know, there we go. That's what I wanted to share with you guys. So make sure with your guys' tanks, you don't get no ammonia spikes. Don't want anything to happen to our fishes. We always we all know we put so much money into this stuff, so we want to keep it nice. We want to keep what's inside of it nice and healthy. So, but other than that, comment down below, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.